In this video, I'm going to be going over what a complete Tiger Gamecom collection looks like. So I'm fortunate enough to have a near complete Tiger Gamecom collection. There are two accessories I'm missing. I'm missing the dial-up modem and also the system link cable. Both items are extremely difficult to find. In fact, I've never ever seen the modem. Never online, never in a store. Ever since I've owned the Gamecom, which I have owned it since 1997 when it came out. And so this is the box for the original model. It came out in 97, as I mentioned. I did pick this up from KB Toys in that year. This is what the first gen model looks like. And so it has two cartridge slots there. It has an extension port on the top, along with a power jack where you get an optional power supply. It does run on 4 AA batteries. Also has a volume and a contrast dial and a stylus. This is what the stylus looks like for the Gen 1. It does say Tiger on it, and it is all black. The second model released actually had a light on it. The first one did not. And this is a touchscreen unit. For anyone not familiar with it, it was pretty much the first touchscreen handheld game system. So similar to what a PDA is, like a Palm Pilot, Palm 5, very similar to that. Has a built-in calculator, has a built-in calendar, built-in phone book, built-in solitaire. And then the second gen model, as I mentioned, they added a light to it, so that's what the button down here is. This is what the stylus looks like. It's a little bit different, a little bit smaller. Has a little tab for it to fit on the back here. They removed the second cartridge slot as they made it a lot smaller. So it has one cartridge slot, still has both dials on it. The buttons are laid out a little bit different. And the headphone jack is on the bottom. The power port and the extension are still on top. But this is a pretty good unit. It does have the light on it, the only model that does have the light. So for that, it definitely gets a plus. The units are monochrome, so it's very difficult to see really any of the games on it. Overall, I probably wouldn't recommend the system. There's a couple pretty good games on it that I'll be going over, like Lights Out, Quiz Whiz. There's a few other ones, mainly puzzle-based games. And the solitaire game built in is really good as well. And then the third gen, they released, which is basically similar to Fantastic colors. There were 4 colors. This is one of them. And the stylus is pretty much the same color as the handheld. When you see these, a lot of times you'll see the stylus missing. So just be cautious of that. It's pretty much the same as the Pocket Pro, which is the second gen model, except for it doesn't have the light button on it. So it's 1 cartridge slot, so it's 2 volume controls. It still has the extension port. It does have the translucent cover instead of the black, power port, and headphone jack on the bottom. So those are the 3 models. And then this is what the OEM power cord looks like. That was an optional accessory. And then we start to get into the games and the cartridges. The first one I'm going to touch base on is Tiger Web Link. This is really more of an accessory. So this is the cartridge. This is the cable it came with. And it also came with this CD-ROM. Let me go ahead and get it out. This is all original. So this is the Tiger Web Link CD-ROM. So this allowed you to hook the Tiger Gamecom up to your PC through a serial connection. And then we'll move on to more of the games. And so let's go ahead and we'll start with, actually before we go into that, I do want to touch base on the manuals real quick. So these are the 4 colors that the third gen came in. And each of these manuals contain a little bit of information about some of the games available. And what's interesting is a lot of the games were never released, but they are in the manual. So this is the Pocket Pro manual, which is for the 2nd gen. And in here, you'll see games like Castlevania, never released. Let's see here. NBA Live 99, never released. Madden Football 99, never released. Holyfield Boxing, never released. Small Soldiers, never released. So there's a lot of games in here that actually never got a release on the system. They must have been near completion if they put them on here, including Name That Tune. That would have been an interesting one. And Gigapets Deluxe. So I just did want to point that out. And then this is what the manual looks like for the 1st gen model. And on to the games. Oh, first up, and I do have custom cases for all these that I've made, but the cartridge just looks like this. It's a pretty basic cartridge. So, Williams Arcade Classics. Again, everything's monochrome, so it's all pretty much black and white. Some nice older arcade games on here. Similar to Williams Arcade Classics on like the Sega Genesis. Wheel of Fortune, and this is Wheel of Fortune 2. There was also Wheel of Fortune. So there were two basically the original came out and then a sequel came out. The only franchise to get a sequel on this system. Wheel of Fortune 2 is extremely difficult to find. I've never seen this game pop up on eBay. I was able to get it because I knew somebody on a retro gaming Facebook group that actually had one, and he sold it to me at a phenomenal rate. Next up is Tiger Casino. So another casino-based game. These are really good to use with the touchscreen. Probably, this breaks my heart to say it, probably one of the worst games on the system is Sonic Jam. The system's just not powerful enough to run it, and being grayscale just makes it that much worse. So I'll show you the back. And basically what you'll see is, if you look at the grayscale pictures there, is the grass is literally grayscale and it just runs into basically everything. So you never know where you are. You don't see enemies. Sonic himself actually looks like he's below the grass, which is really weird. Just the overall play, it lags so bad. The worst port I've ever played. Unfortunately, because I love Sonic Jam. Next up, another board game, Scrabble. So, board and puzzle games are really fun on the system. They take advantage of the touchscreen with the stylus. The key here you'll see, the pattern as I go along here, you'll notice there's a lot of puzzle games, and those are the best ones for the system. Anytime you get into any of these fast-paced or action games, they're just unplayable. And the system you cannot play in low light at all. Unfortunately, I can't show it on the camera. I have no way to capture the video. If I hold it up to the camera, you just see a reflection of the camera. And so, unfortunately, I can't show you gameplay. I believe there is an emulator available for it, but I've never tried that out since I like to play on real hardware. Next up, Resident Evil 2. This is another one. This one is at least somewhat playable, but it's still very hard to tell when, zombies are coming at you. This one, probably the most expensive game on the system, Quiz Wiz Cyber Trivia. This was a pack-in with the original system, Gen 1 in the blister pack form. The game itself, to find the actual copy, the retail copy, very difficult. I've had this game. This was one of the games that I played back in '97 when I got the system. Really fun game. Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This one is surprisingly decently playable. Overall, not too bad. Again, anything fast-paced is a little bit tricky to play on the system. But overall, out of all the action games, I would say that's probably actually the most playable one. Next up is Monopoly. This is a pretty good port of Monopoly. It is grayscale, but overall real well. Probably the best game on the system is Lights Out. This was the pack-in for the original model that came out in the big box form. And so this is really cool. It's blocks, kind of similar to a Tetris, but it takes advantage of the touchscreen extremely well. Next up is Lost World Jurassic Park. Again, another one of those action-paced games. It's really difficult to play on the system. Jeopardy, a pretty decent game on the system. Indy 500. This one's actually not too bad because you kind of get that first-person view where you're really just going side to side around the track. Overall, not too bad. I would definitely recommend the puzzle games before that one, but overall, it's playable. Next up is the other puzzle game, Henry. This one isn't too bad either. Frogger. Frogger is playable. It doesn't use a lot of resources to play it. Unfortunately, it is grayscale, and so it's a decent port. But for Frogger, there are a lot better options out there. Next up is Fighters Mega Mix. And so on the same lines as Mortal Kombat Trilogy, is somewhat playable, but I would still recommend puzzle games over it. Next up is the Tiger Gamecom Internet cartridge. So this one's a little bit different. This required the modem. You'd put this on and this would allow you to access the internet. So it came with this cable, which you basically plug this into the modem, and this would allow you to go online through a dial-up connection. Really doesn't have any use today. You can't use it, but if you do have a modem, it's definitely something that you can try out. I'm not sure if you can tether it through a Raspberry Pi or not, similar to like a Dream Pi for the Dreamcast. I'm not sure if that works on the Gamecom or not. Next up is another pretty unplayable game, and that is Duke Nukem 3D. And then we've got Centipede, another old arcade port. And finally, we have Batman and Robin. Another one of those games that's kind of somewhat fast-paced and a little bit difficult to play. And that's it for the games for the Gamecom. I pretty much went over all the accessories, all the games. There were 20 games released, and then there's also the 2 accessory carts, being the Gamecom Internet cartridge, as well as the Tiger Web Link, which also comes with the CD-ROM. So, thanks for watching. Drop me a comment below. Let me know if you guys have a Gamecom or if you collect for the Gamecom, what you think about it. Like I said, I had one in '97. Recently, within the past year or so, decided to complete the collection. Was able to get the games that I didn't have. And so, I'm fortunate enough to have that complete collection. It's definitely not something that, you really pull out and play unless, you're nostalgic for it and you had one around that time frame. It's not a system I really recommend, but it's definitely, a neat piece of gaming history to check out if you're interested in that type of thing. So thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I upload a new video every single Wednesday and Sunday, generally around noon Eastern time.